counselors here. I just want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know it's late. I know daylight savings has made us all a little tired, but this is some exciting stuff, and we're really happy that you guys are here to learn and listen to our post-secondary speakers. Before they start talking, we have a few things that we would like to highlight first.
So for starters, we know that there are a lot of different post-secondary options. Tonight we have 4 different representatives speaking on 4 different career pathways. This is not the only pathway students can take, but this is just a way to learn a little bit more. And if your student's not exactly sure what they want to do, gives them an opportunity to explore and see if it might be a pathway they want to pursue.
All right, so these are our high school counselors here. We have met with your student at some point. We have annual meetings, and during those meetings, we talk about a variety of things, including post-secondary topics. Our goal with that is that your students become curious and start researching what path they feel might be the right fit for them. As those conversations come home and you have more questions, feel free to email us, call us. Counselors, we really care about your student and want them to feel confident in their pathway after high school.
As your student begins exploring post-secondary options, it can feel very overwhelming. So these are just a couple of things to keep in mind when your student begins that process. And this isn't just for four-year colleges. This can be for any pathway that a student is thinking about. So for starters, I always say try to be academically prepared. Depending on what you're wanting to do, if you are thinking about a four-year college, consider all of the academic requirements for that specific school. Even some trades or some technical colleges do require certain classes for students to take. So really take opportunities to learn what that specific entity is looking for. It's also important to consider the different characteristics of that profession or that pathway that you're pursuing. If you are thinking about going to a four-year school, thinking about the size, the location, if you're thinking about maybe a trade or the military, what that might look like for you, if you're comfortable with, like going off to boot camp for a while, being overseas, being deployed somewhere, these are all things to consider when you are looking for different career pathways. Gather all your information. So there is a lot of information out there, as Mrs. Dellis said. We here as counselors are here to help your students navigate all that information, because it can be very overwhelming. When you are in high school, try to have a couple of teachers or staff members that can write you letters of recommendation. Make sure that you are compiling all of your accomplishments. You're going to have to build a resume of some sort, so having everything in one space that you can easily access is going to make this process a lot easier for you. As you approach your senior year, it's really important to be mindful of deadlines. They come up really fast. At the end of junior year, beginning of senior year, a lot of things are going on, and it can be really easy to miss those. So make sure you're checking your emails, you are reading the newsletters. There's a lot of really important information with deadlines. We try our best to communicate with our students, but I know a lot of information is coming your way. So just make sure that you're reaching out to us and keeping on top of all those deadlines. And then finally, no matter what you're doing, just make sure you have some kind of financial plan to pay for those things. There are work studies, FAFSA, loans, scholarships, and all of those things are housed in our Muskego High School system, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well.
All right, this is our handy dandy Muskego High School website. Raise your hand if you ever looked at it. Okay, there is a lot going on in this website, so if you ever have trouble navigating it, send us an email. We're more than happy to just send you that link and help you navigate it. But there's a couple things I'd like to highlight on this website under the Academics and Career Planning tab. First is post-secondary planning. Now that's gonna have almost everything of what we're talking about tonight on it, including these slides and a live stream to this presentation tonight. It'll also have information on Zello, if your student's thinking about playing sports in college, NCAA information, as well as college and military visits and their contacts. Below that is scholarship and financial aid information. What I think is really special about our website is we actually have like specific Muskego links to scholarships on there, as well as a bunch of websites that have like national and big scholarships on there as well. Then there's testing that is talking about ACT and the PACT, as well as below that is transcript requests. Whether you're thinking of going to tech college or going into the workforce, it's important to know where your transcript is and how you can request it and send that to wherever you think you're gonna go after.
And just some quick ACT information. I know we get this question a lot. Currently, and maybe our reps can correct me, but right now, all the UW systems are test optional, and a lot of the private institutions are test optional for your ACT as well. A lot of the tech schools, or if you're going into specific programs or apprenticeships, a lot of times they'll want to see your ACT score. They want to see a specific number, and then you can a lot of times get into those unions. But from what I've been told, setting your ACT score can only help you and not hurt you for these test optional schools. So if your score, maybe you're not the happiest with, or you wish you did a little bit better, I would say send it anyway. It can't hurt you. It's not going to be detrimental when they're looking through your application.
All right, I know we've already kind of thrown a lot at you guys already. It might be overwhelming, but please know that planning what you want to do after high school, figuring out your path, figuring out a career possibly for the rest of your life, it's overwhelming, but you guys can do it. It's not a one-time decision. It's not I know what I'm doing because I looked at it today. No, it takes time. It takes talking to people. It takes learning more about yourself. I like to say it's more like a marathon, not a sprint. So no, it's a process, and throughout the process, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your counselors. We love to help.
And then I won't talk a lot about direct admit. I just wanted to bring this up. So if you're a junior, at the beginning of the school year, your family would have either opted you in or opted you out to direct admit, which is at the end of your junior year, your transcripts, your information will go to the UW system schools, and all except UW La Crosse, UW Eau Claire, UW Madison are part of this program, where if you fall within a certain range of what they're looking for, you get automatic admissions to the school, an acceptance letter without even having to apply to the school. So if you are a junior and you're curious, am I part of direct admit, am I not? Stop over to me at the end of this and I can look that up for you to see if you did opt in or opt out to that.
All right, so that is it. Now I'm gonna hand it over to WCTC, and then we'll be doing the rest of our speakers. And then at the end, we will be having questions at their tables. Okay, so here we go.
Hello, everyone. Oh, I'm short. Hi. So we're here on behalf of WCTC. I'm Flor Hernandez. I'm one of our enrollment counselors, and this is my colleague, Shelby. So I predominantly work with transfer students, so if you have any transfer-specific questions, I can help you with that too, on what your journey could look like after WCTC. So today we're going to cover a little bit of information about the Wisconsin Technical College system. So WCTC is only part of the 16 already established technical colleges across the state of Wisconsin. We have hands-on, affordable education, we're career-focused. The whole idea behind the technical college system is that every region is serviced by that technical college, and we offer the opportunities that the region needs. That's why if you go to Gateway, you'll see different programming than if you go to WCTC, et cetera, et cetera. We do offer over 300 programs across the entire system. We do have small class sizes down to 16 to 1, 20 to 1, depending on the institution. And instructors are required to have real-world experience. Specifically at WCTC, most of our instructors are masters or PhDs, so very high-level education.
So some WCTC outcomes. So as you can see, like some statistics with like the median salary. So if you're coming out with an associate's degree, it's going to be fairly comparable to what you'd be coming out with as if you were even a 4-year or even a master's degree. And then 91% of technical college graduates are reporting like they're staying local. So like in the WCTCs in Waukesha County, most of those students are going to be staying in that area. So who is WCTC? So we are an open access community education. So we have 8-week courses. So instead of like at a 4-year, you're typically going to see about 5 courses over the span of about 16 weeks. Well, at WCTC, if you're going full time, you're going to be taking 2 or 3 courses like every 8 weeks. So it helps break it up a little bit, just a little bit off of that. And then it's also buildable education. So like you're taking courses, and like with a technical degree, you're learning that real life experience. You're just gaining that experience, and the classes are going to build on each each other. And then we have 2 campuses, so most of our classes are offered at the Pewaukee campus, but we also have a campus in Waukesha. So we have different 5 schools, so that means we have like a school of business, school of education, school of arts and science, applied tech, and then like service programs. And that's just like the college that you're in, depending on which program, it's going to determine where it's housed. And then we have over 170 programs.
Just a little piece on the open access part of that. So a lot of the technical college system, that is the idea. It is an open access institution where we don't necessarily exclude students by GPA. We can get your student tested to see where we're going to place them in for the appropriate reading, writing, or math course. So GPA is really going to just see whether we exempt you from placement assessments or not. So that's the open access piece. When Shelby mentioned the buildable education, this is what we mean. We do have career pathways across different certificates, technical diplomas, and associate's degrees. This is true for a wide variety of our programs. We have an example here for welding. You can start with a certificate, build on to technical, and go on to the associate's degree. Apprenticeships are also not necessarily a pathway, but we have programs like electricity. A family was interested in an electrician apprenticeship. Some of our students will start off with the academic program and switch into an apprenticeship a little later. So that's where the buildable education comes from. Finding your best fit is important. You will see different options today. Technical may be your best fit versus a 4-year and vice versa, right? There are some programs where it is to your benefit to start at a 4-year versus a 2-year, but a 2-year can really get that very strong foundation for your student. We do have financial aid eligibility. We do have a lot of resources for our students, and I will let Shelby talk about the resources we have at WCTC.
Yeah, so some resources that we have. So we have enrollment counselors like Flora and I. So we work with prospective students as well as transfer students, so those might be, or even adults coming back to college, or if you were a student and you started at a 4-year, but you decided, hey, I want to transfer to a 2-year, you can come to us and talk to us. We have financial aid. They are great about helping you if you don't understand like the FAFSA, filling out that application, understanding what it means for loans. We have mental health counseling. Students can go there for free as long as they're in a program. We also have academic advisors. So those are going to be advisors on campus who are going to help you once you're in your program, pick out which courses. Career development services. So later down the line, if you need some help figuring out where you're going to go with your degree, we have people on staff. We also have student accessibility. So if you maybe need an accommodation for like your courses, if you maybe had like an IEP high school, we have resources available. Student life, so those are going to be like students looking at maybe join a club or a different organization. Student employment, so many students do decide to work here on campus just as a way, this is a part-time job. We have student ambassadors in our office who are great. And then also free academic support. So in our library, we have, if you need maybe some additional help or tutoring, we have that available as well. And then here's the admissions process on how to get started. So apply online, and there is a $30 application fee. Make sure for programs that you are looking at specific deadlines. A complete assessment, so the AccuPlacer if needed, so that is it's not a pass-fail test, but a test to like kind of help us place you into the correct courses. And then click on complete program-specific requirements. So a lot of programs are going to require you to take general education courses, and then you are going to be admitted to WCTC.
And this is where the ACT piece comes into play. So for ACTs, they cannot help you, they can hurt. They cannot hurt, they can help you. So a lot of our students will send us transcripts. If you have a 2.6 or higher, you'll be exempt from testing. However, if you also send in ACTs that place you into a higher level math or higher level English course, we will honor that as well. So it's important to send over scores. Best case scenario, we'll use whichever has the highest score, and so on and so forth. For transferring, so we do have a lot of articulation agreements and transfer agreements with schools, private and public. MSOE, MyAd, we have Marquette, we have a lot of different institutions for various programs that can support your student beyond WCTC. If you have any questions on transferring to or from WCTC, feel free to stop by and ask us. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and scan the QR code that will take you straight to our enrollment counseling page, or you can always connect with our team. Thank you.
All right, next we have Carol.
I'm Sarah Singsheim. I'm an admission counselor at Carroll and also a Carroll alum. I'm going to talk about private institutions in Wisconsin and then as well as Carroll. So the common question between the difference between public and private colleges and universities would be the funding. So public universities receive state funding while private colleges and universities do not. So that means that private universities really rely on tuition, and we'll talk a lot about tuition later, as well as donations. Additionally, private schools often have religious affiliations. To what degree really depends on the school. Here are the private institutions of Wisconsin. So a lot of them are located in the Milwaukee area, so that's really nice for your students. So there's a lot of options there to choose from. All of these schools are a part of WACU, so in the further slides, whenever you hear the word WACU, think of these schools. Some hallmarks to private institutions. We're going to start with first in the classroom. So interactive hands-on learning is essential and a hallmark to private institutions. Smaller class sizes. So the average class size at Carroll is about 21 students to one faculty member, and that varies per private institution. And then finding your passion. So in the WACU schools altogether, there are 470 plus academic programs, and most of them are direct admission, so getting into that program right away. Another hallmark is outside the classroom. So there are a variety of clubs and organizations based on interests and abilities. Most private institutions in Wisconsin are in that D3 range, not all of them, like Marquette is not, but most of them are in that smaller division, which means there's options to participate or availability to participate. Community service and leadership is a hallmark to private institutions. Travel, some schools offer the travel experience. At Carroll, we require it to some degree. Athletics, not just the D3 or NCAA options, but intramurals as well. And then the hallmark to private institutions would be diverse campuses. So about 32% of enrolled students are people of color, 26% of all WACU schools are first generation students, and then about 31% is about 25 plus, so 25 years and older students. So that kind of deals with our first year students as well as transfers, which we talked about some articulation agreements. And then about 27% of students who attend a private institution are Pell recipients. That hands-on interactive experience, again, is that hallmark. So real-world experience, many students learn about their future careers firsthand through internships. So with our location as well, with many of those WACU schools being in the Milwaukee area, it lends to a lot of opportunities for internship, clinical experiences, student teaching placements, etc. Career services, so getting help preparing and applying for jobs before graduation. I know that at Carroll we have a career services, and that is a free service to students, helping with resume building, interviewing, and that's still an option for students even when they become alumni. Getting your degree, your time is precious, so private institutions help prepare for high demand fields. So among the Wisconsin colleges, WACU campuses produce 54% of nursing degrees, 42% of health profession degrees in general, 26% engineering degrees, and 22% of business degrees. At the graduate level, our private institutions for WACU produce 100% of our dentistry degrees, that's because of Marquette, 55% of physician assistant degrees, 61% medical, 36% education, 32% business, and 35% pharmaceutical for the graduate degrees. Your chance of graduating in 4 years is 31% greater by attending a private institution versus a public institution in Wisconsin. I always recommend looking at the schools that you're interested in and seeing any College of Distinction awards that they've received. Here are the awards that Carroll has received this 25-26 year. A little bit about Carroll. So we have about 3,000 students in total on our campus. So we're on the medium size of small. We have 85% of our students living on or within the campus community. We have 12 different residence halls for students. A common misconception about private institutions is that they're sticker price way too unaffordable, but 100% of our students receive some form of financial aid. So bringing that sticker price down to a more reasonable net price. Our classes are taught only by our faculty, so we do not utilize TAs. So those are experts in their field. Again, we only have an average class size of 21 students to 1 faculty member. We also have supplemental instructors in a lot of our classes, which are students who did really well in the class. They take it again, and then they host specific study sessions outside of class. So you get support from your faculty, but then you also get support from students as well. Carroll has 95 different areas of study. So we range from accounting all the way to video game design. Our top 5 would be nursing. We're top 5% in the nation for our program, so that is our largest program. Our doctorate of physical therapy is a direct admit program, so a high school student could apply and have that seat saved for them years in advance. And also our DPT program is 3+3, so 3 years of your undergrad and 3 years of your doctorate, which is faster than the normal path. The other most popular ones would be education, business, as well as psychology. But we have some unique ones. So animal behavior, we're one of 15 schools in the nation to have that program. We're the 4th largest. We have video game design as a major. We also have marine biology. If you know where Carroll is in Waukesha, it's not like we're by a massive body of water. But we have the partnership that guarantees all the classes that you take at Carroll will transfer to Hawaii Pacific University. We also have an option for some of our bachelor's degrees to be done in 3 years versus 4. Obviously has a huge time completion savings, but then financial as well, and it can get you into your next step, whatever that may be, a year sooner. We talked about this with the hallmark of private institutions, but with our location, we are really close in proximity for our internships, clinical experiences, so more than 60 Fortune 500 companies within our region. We talked a little bit about the hallmark of travel for private schools. Carroll is unique in requiring it to some degree. There are some local options. There are some virtual versus no travel. We have full semesters, and then we have hybrid options where there are a class during the semester and then a trip off semester, so the students won't miss class with those opportunities. And they range from local, but then like Hawaii, Alaska, Japan, the list goes on and on. So students have a lot of choice in that. We at Carroll like to support our students. We celebrate, advocate, and educate. So we have a variety of organizations on our campus, as well as student supports, as we talked about, and a lot of academic resources. So we did talk a little bit about supplemental instruction. We're accredited in our supplemental instruction. We also have academic advising and our leadership development groups. We also have 50+ different organizations on our campus, so students often who are involved in high school still like to carry that over in college. So we have a lot of academic advocacy service, Greek life, spiritual life, as well as special interest. So there's plenty to do, and with our size, we're large enough to have a variety of options, but small enough where you can participate in many things on top of your academics. Here are some of those things that you can participate in. Remember when we talked about private institutions are often religiously affiliated? Carroll is affiliated with the Presbyterian Church, and that can be as big or small as a part of your experience as you would like. You're not required to be Presbyterian to attend. We're D3 in athletics. We have 23 different D3 teams, and our most recent 6 years is women's bowling. So our mighty team of 7 has the player of the year and the coach of the year this last year. We are not short on school spirit, so a lot of our teams have set records for attendance. So our football games have set a conference record, as well as our women's lacrosse team made it to the D3 tournament, national tournament last year. The counselors talked a little bit about application process, so I'll talk a little bit about ours. Carroll, it's free to apply. We are also available on Common App. We are test optional, and as it was mentioned, we are do no harm. So if you submit your test score and it doesn't help you in any way, we don't utilize it. So again, it doesn't hurt to try and to send it in. We're also essay and letters of rec optional. So truly, we just want to know what your student is involved in and see their transcript. Commonly seen, private schools are seen as much more expensive than a public institution. So the key thing that I always like to talk to people about is sticker price versus net price. So sticker price refers to the cost of college before scholarships and financial aid, and net price refers to the cost after. So this is a pretty important thing to think about when looking at private institutions. Remember all of those little bubbles that had all the WACU schools on them. This is some fast facts about that. So 80% of students attending a WACU institution receive financial aid. So they're bringing that sticker price down to a net price. 95% of students who attend a WACU institution receive grants and scholarships. We like that because grants and scholarships we don't pay back. Scholarships and grants make up more than 97% of the average financial aid package. So again, that is a large piece of money that you're not paying back. Average out-of-pocket costs. So the average tuition from all of those WACU schools was about $37,127. The average financial aid package, though, is about $33,485. So the average cost actually was about $3,642 for the year. In comparison, the average tuition at a four-year public institution was about $8,351. So you really have to look at the sticker price versus the net price depending on the financial aid offered. Cost of room and board is comparable between public and private use institutions in Wisconsin. One way that Carroll brings the sticker price down to a more reasonable net price would be our merit-based scholarship. So after your junior year, you submit your transcript when you're applying, and your GPA will be recalculated on a standard 4.0 scale, and wherever that falls can earn a scholarship that ranges between $18,000 and $26,000 each year for your undergrad years. So that is a pretty nice, oftentimes it will cut tuition in half for a student at Carroll. You can submit your ACT score, and we would join your ACT score and your GPA, and if that gives you the better scholarship, we'll utilize that. We also have additional competitive scholarships. We have a full tuition scholarship. We have a scholarship if you know an alumni of Carroll. When I was a student, mine was my dentist, so it doesn't have to be a blood relative in order to get that scholarship. We also have a visit grant, so when you're a senior in high school, if you visit Carroll, you get $500 per year as well. So a lot of nice ones that are just being given out for participating. We also have scholarships for just participating in music. So you don't have to be a music major, you just have to have that interest. We have some that are based on location, so every student here would be eligible for the Waukesha State Bank Scholarship because the first requirement is that you live and or go to school in Waukesha County. We also have various ones based on major, often varying up to full tuition scholarships, so lots of opportunities for students to bring a sticker price down to a more reasonable net price. Statistically, students have to apply for 10 scholarships to get one, so it's nice that there are a lot of options, at least through Carroll and other private institutions, to bring that sticker price down. So you want to determine your actual cost and value. The actual cost of a private college is not what is exactly advertised. Remember, that's the sticker price you see first. 100% of students receive some form of scholarships at Carroll University. You want to weigh the time to completion. So are you going to graduate in 4 years or not? Thinking about that. Individual intention is a key hallmark to consider when factoring in cost as well. And then a college degree is an investment into your future and your lifetime earnings. And this is my information, so I'll be out on in the lobby after this too. So thank you.
All right, next we have Whitewater. They will be focusing on the public schools of Wisconsin.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Jane with UW Whitewater. I'm actually your admissions counselor. So whenever you see that UW Whitewater is visiting your high school, it'll be me. If you were getting emails, texts, it's me on the other end, so now you have a face to the name. So when you're doing these college visits, you're gonna usually be starting with a presentation before going off into a tour. During those presentations, they're going to give you information about what makes their university stand out, but also some basic information that you can also find online, but things like, what class size is, how large is the university. Here at UW Whitewater, we are a medium size, about 12,000, which might feel a little bit differently from a high school. When it comes to UW systems, the ranges go from usually about 3,000, with being UW Superior, being considered a small school, all the way up to Madison, which is 50,000 plus. So when you're thinking sizes, think 5,000 small, 50,000 large, 12,000 kind of that medium range. So kind of find that right campus for you. So you definitely have a lot of resources. Definitely utilize your school counselors. They are wonderful. They are here for you. They got in this position, this job to help assist you throughout this process. So definitely utilize them. Also outside of those scheduled meetings, they're a wonderful resource. I love working with them. But also when it comes to finding the right campus, word of mouth is a great one. I always say that the best person to ask on, is this university right for me, are current students. Do you know somebody who goes to that university? They're going to be honest. They're going to tell you their favorite thing, their least favorite thing, things they wish they did, things they wish they didn't do. Even neighbor who's an alumni, definitely have those conversations. They're going to be the most real and the most honest. Other ways that you can find information about UW systems is through the UW system website. So this QR code actually takes you to the Visit UW Help website. This is a great website and a great resource for kind of figuring out what UW school might I be interested in. Maybe it's based off of the university size, location. Do you want to be close to home, far away from home? Is there a particular major you're looking for that's only offered at certain universities? For example, do you want to minor in the Kazakh language? The only university for that is Madison. Are you looking for a university that might do theater education? One of the few is UW Whitewater. So if you know for certain a major that you want, this is a useful resource to make sure that you're spending your time looking at universities that have those offerings. Another one too, you're going to have a lot of resources through your school counselors about what major and what career path do I want to go to. But the UW system as well has their mymajors.com. It's about a 50-question questionnaire. It's going to go over your interests, the things that you're really good at, the things you're not good at, and what maybe career fail or major might work for you. And along with that, we'll also take you to the Visit UW to kind of figure out what universities have those programs. When it comes to visiting campuses, this is a wonderful thing to kind of figure out the culture, the vibe of a campus. Now, we know that you only have so much time on the weekends. You only have so many Fridays and Saturdays. One thing that I definitely feel like families don't utilize enough are virtual visits. So this is where you sometimes will be like a live person on like a Zoom going through a presentation, a virtual tour around a campus. That's what we do at Whitewater. But it also might just be a video that takes you around the campus and talking to you about what makes them stand out. This is a great thing to help maybe narrow down your choices from, maybe 14 schools down to 5, and then figuring out from there, do I want to go visit them in person? Other things you can do too on top of daily tours. Some universities might have them during the week, the weekend, but also unique visit opportunities. So at Whitewater, we have our Warhawk preview days. So that's for students kind of geared toward letting them know about UW Whitewater in general. It might be maybe their top 20, narrow it down to top 10. Versus we have admitted days. Those are going to be events where you've already been admitted and you want to figure out, is this where I want to be, top 3 kind of choices. So very unique opportunities. And depending on your major, your choice, there might be some visit opportunities within that. So at Whitewater, we have accounting days. So accounting is one of our largest majors at Whitewater. So we have a day dedicated to students interested in that major. They come to campus for a full day. They have a practice lecturer. They eat on campus, kind of geared toward those majors. And all UW system schools have these unique opportunities to look into. The admission process. So within the UW system, there are going to be varying degrees of selectivity. So depending on the university of your choice, it doesn't hurt to do that research. That Wisconsin website is helpful to kind of narrow down the things you want to start looking into and planning ahead now. So the style of admissions is a big one. So at Whitewater, we are rolling admissions. What that means is that you have the opportunity to apply all the way into the summer before our last SOAR registration day, so our student orientation. So all the way up until that last day. Some universities might have priority dates, cutoff dates, definitely ones you want to look into your senior year. I know Madison has priority dates as early as November, but they have a secondary application process later in the spring too. So if you have universities in mind now, it's good to kind of get an idea, am I on a timeline or am I less on a timeline? Every UW school does something called a comprehensive holistic review process. So what that means is, yes, we have requirements like the application, but we don't require things like an ACT score. So all UW schools don't require the ACT score. And you've heard from all of us, all it does is help you, not hurt you. Maybe it's a great way for us to kind of glimpse into maybe you had like a rough freshman year, or maybe there's a particular class you struggled in, but you have the understanding within math. Sometimes that ACT score can reflect that. Depending on the UW school, they might have additional requirements versus other ones, but everything that you give to a university within the UW system, they review, they put into mind. So if you have a job resume you want to include, or a wonderful recommendation letter, even though those things might not be required for that particular UW university, they will put that into your application, they will review that, they will put that into consideration. Something to kind of think of. Things to kind of prepare now for those juniors in the rooms, those seniors, is keeping up with your GPA. You'll also hear the term rigor a lot. That's going to be the difficulty of classes. Are you pushing yourself? Now, I know my peers will probably agree, we definitely view quality over quantity. We'd rather see you doing well in these classes than pushing yourself and burning out. So definitely talk with your family, talk with your school counselors to kind of figure out what fits right for you, right? We want to make sure you're doing well and you're succeeding versus struggling. So find that balance, and their school counselors are a great way to kind of figure that out. But we definitely keep that into account, right? An A in like Algebra 2 is going to be different than maybe a B in, AP Calculus, for example. Making sure you're hitting those requirements. All UW schools require at least the minimum of these on the slide right here. Depending on your university, it might be a little different. One thing to keep in mind, like for example, UW-Madison might view certain math classes than other UW schools. So again, if you have certain universities in mind, especially UW-Madison in particular, just make sure you're hitting those requirements. And again, speak with your school counselors on those requirements. And then secondary factors, something to keep in mind now is honors, any of any awards, your involvement, activities, do you have a job, student employment, for example, something I love to see because we know that takes a lot out of you, and it definitely takes some growing as well. So Wisconsin Guarantee, raise of hands, who has heard of Wisconsin Guarantee? Okay, a few, not everyone. Okay, no worries. So Wisconsin Guarantee is within the UW system, so depending on your GPA, it determines your class rank within your junior year. So at the end of your junior year, they're looking at your class rank. If you are the top 10%, you are guaranteed admittance to all UW schools except for UW-Madison. So top 10% here at Muskego High School means you are guaranteed admission into all those schools except UW-Madison. Top 5% includes Madison. So something to keep in mind, even though you have that guaranteed admission, you still have to apply. So making sure you're filling out those required application processes. Every UW school might be a little bit different, but something to keep in mind, especially as you're looking at class rank, as you're getting closer to the end of your junior year. Now, Direct Admit Wisconsin, so it's a wonderful program. It's definitely a little bit newer. Muskego High School is part of this program. Now, not every UW school does Direct Admit. The ones that are all here are listed. The ones that do not participate in Direct Admit is UW-Madison, Eau Claire, and La Crosse. They're gonna have a different application process, but Direct Admit, if you are gonna opt in, it's a great way to kind of confirm what schools am I already able to be admitted to. Kind of breaks away one of those steps already. So it saves you some time and takes away a whole extra step for you guys. It's a wonderful program. Now, when it comes to applying for admission, so I mentioned Direct Admit and how not every school does that. Every school that participates in Direct Admit has a free application process. Now, if maybe you didn't opt into Direct Admit for a certain school that later on you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this school, I wish I did it, you can still do the application process for those schools, and they are free. But also maybe you don't get into a university through Direct Admit. Again, every UW school does that comprehensive review process. So if you don't get in through Direct Admit, I still recommend, if you're passionate about that university, to still fill out that application. That's when you're definitely want to look into adding those additional items that aren't required, but they do review. So that essay, maybe letters of recommendation. So don't feel like that's your only chance. You still have that traditional application process. You can apply either through the wisconsin.edu website or the Common App. Common App, it will be a little helpful if you're looking at universities outside of the UW systems, so kind of like your one-stop shop. If you're looking at just UW systems, that's when that wisconsin.edu will be a little bit more helpful. Some universities might require an application process. Those that do are the ones that do not participate in Direct Admit, something to kind of keep in mind. And then the things that are required is your high school transcript. So they mentioned the website and the great resources on that website, including how to request your transcript. We do need that before we review your application. So even if you apply, no one has access to see that until they have all your materials, including your transcript. So make sure you have that ready to go. It's always hard to see when a student applies and it's like a month later when they finally do their transcript. And again, test optional. And then those letters of recommendations. Some universities do require it, like Madison, Eau Claire, and La Crosse. I'm not familiar with every single university on if they do require it, but most don't. Still doesn't hurt. If you have a wonderful relationship with a boss, a teacher, maybe somebody that you've worked with before, it doesn't hurt to include those. Again, part of the review process. Helps us get to know you past just your grades. Now, we know this is a lot of information. I know it could be a little overwhelming, especially for those, this is their first time going through this process. Again, you have wonderful resources here at your high school, but also the college reps that come to your high school. So when you're going to college fairs, don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. When you're seeing that they're visiting your high school, that's a wonderful opportunity on top of going to those visits. If you don't want to go drive 2 hours, you want to get that information right off the bat. If you see that they're visiting your high school, they're in your cafeteria, it doesn't hurt to go and just have a conversation with them. And also, do not be afraid to reach out. They're going to be transparent and they're going to be clear with you. Especially to be Whitewater, we're always happy to point you in the right direction. If we don't have a major, we're not going to still recommend you come to Whitewater if you're interested in, let's say, architecture, for example. We're not going to say, still come to Whitewater, even though we don't have it. And every UW school is going to be like that. They're going to be honest and forthcoming, and they just want to make sure you guys succeed. So do not hesitate to utilize your counselors, but also your admission counselors as well. And I will be also after here in the table if you guys have any specific questions about Whitewater, but also general things I can point you in the right directions within the UW schools.
All right, last but not least, we have the Army representing the whole military.
Right. It's not going to present. It's too large. Good evening. My name is Staff Sergeant Frick. I'm a United States Army recruiter and career counselor. My colleague in the back there is Staff Sergeant Wright. He's also a recruiter and career counselor. He is the primary point of contact for Muskego High School. So if you have more questions, feel free to contact him. He'll be at the table outside when we're finished. Be all you can be. This is the current Army motto. This is what we're all about. Long gone are the days where we lived by the Army's going to get everything out of you and you're going to get nothing in return. The Army and the United States military as a whole is full of benefits now, and they have found that the best way to make the best soldier is to allow you to be the best person you can be and give you benefits to explore the education opportunities and programs you want to explore. Within the Army and all of our branches, we have active duty, reserve, and officers. And in 2 of our branches, the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps, we have warrant officers. Warrant officers are technical experts in their field that are highly, highly trained. For active duty, we're looking at full-time service. That's people like myself that wear the uniform 5 days a week. This is our full-time job, and that's what we do. In the Army Reserve, you start out on the same training path as a full-time service active duty soldier. You go to basic training, do your job training, and then once you're finished with that, you come back home, whether that's Milwaukee or where you decide to settle down, and you do a 1 week in the month with your reserve drill unit and 2 weeks in the summer. In total, you wear the uniform for about 50 days a year, and you're called upon in times of need when the country needs you to step up and serve. For our officers, these are individuals in the service who are qualified with 4-year college degrees that have decided to serve the country as a senior leader in our military ranks. And so, to the active Army, daily life is a balance between your commitments and personal goals. The Army wants you to pursue your personal goals and dreams while making a difference for the United States along the way. If you're looking for that college lifestyle, as a single soldier in the United States Army, which most of our high school graduates are, you live in a barracks. This is very similar to a dormitory style living situation. You might have a roommate or two. eat in a dining facility, and have your basic needs taken care of for you. Once you mature and move on with your life and start your own family, you'll be provided family benefits and on-post housing or a housing allowance to acquire your own quarters off of the installation. Army Reserve, it's a great program. Part-time service, part-time pay, part-time benefits. Still gets great education benefits. You'll have access to the Wisconsin GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, and the post 9/11 GI Bill to help you pursue those college education dreams and serve your country along the way. A lot of people join the Army for occupational or career enhancement. Whether that's you don't know what you want to do with your life right now, or you have an idea of what you want to do and you want to pursue that, and the Army is the easiest way to do it, that's great. We have career fields from aviation, aerial defense. Those are the jobs everybody wants to talk about. Flying around on helicopters is pretty cool. Mechanics and engineering, everything we work with in the United States Army has mechanics and maintainers that maintain that stuff. Ground forces, these are the guys you see in all the movies, the infantry, the tankers, artillerymen. Our medical corps is world class. Every job you see in a hospital in the civilian world, the Army has that job because we run our own hospitals. If you go into Freighter or Aurora, those jobs, they're available in the United States Army and are all entry-level positions. Support and logistics to fuel our fighting force, and signals and intelligence communities to provide us with the intel we need and transmission of that information. Education benefits. We had some great presenters tonight talk about how great our education system is in the United States. It's so great that people come all over the world to get their education here. The United States military can help pay for your education, whether it's through GI Bill benefits, which allow you to go to 4 years worth of college after your service, and the military will pay for that college tuition. They'll also give you a stipend of about $500 a month and give you a housing allowance. That housing allowance is hard to calculate because it's dependent on the average cost of housing where your university is located. For the Milwaukee area, if you were going to University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, the housing allowance is about $2,200 a month right now. Army Cool. This is a program the Army developed about 15 years ago, and it allows you to get technical certifications paid for by the United States Army, whether that's your CompTIA certifications for IT or the mechanic certifications that you would need to work in like an auto mechanic shop to allow you to take your skills from the United States Army, have the Army pay for you to get that civilian education credential, and when you get out of the Army, you now are qualified to do that job in the civilian world. Joint service transcripts are a great tool available to us. Every bit of training we do in the United States Army, from the day you go to basic training to the day you get out, goes on your joint service transcript. The Army partners with over 1,900 universities in the United States that honors our joint service transcript and gives us college credits for our training. For example, I knocked out almost all of my general education requirements for my bachelor's degree using my joint service transcript. Leadership is a big deal in the Army. It's a big deal in the civilian world. You want to move up in life and make more money, have more responsibilities. The Army will drive that into you every step of the way through advanced leaders training, starting with the basic leader course, the advanced leader course, and the senior leaders course as you move through our ranks and progress in your career. Some people join the Army for diversity. Diversity means a couple things. On this slide, we're seeing the locations around the world and the country where our Army installations are located, from Fort McCoy in Wisconsin to Ansbach in Germany, Fort Wainwright in Alaska. You can literally be stationed anywhere in the world to complete your service. I know I talked to a gentleman earlier tonight who's part of the Muskego Outdoors Club. You like hunting and fishing? Alaska's the place for you, man. Best hunting in the world, right? Diversity is also the people in the Army. The United States Army is the most diverse organization I've ever been a part of. I've worked with people from all 50 states and 13 different countries who moved to the United States and joined the United States Army to serve our country and progress their new life in America. And it's provided me with a fresh outlook on what the world is really about. Income. Everybody likes getting paid. Everybody that talked before me wanted to take money from you to get that education. I want to pay you while you're getting your education. All of our pay charts are public record. You can look them up. Right now, an E2 in the United States Army, that's our second pay grade, and it's what we send everybody out of my office to basic training as is an E2 or an E3. They make about $20 an hour right now equivalent, which is pretty good for an entry-level position. This is our basic training phase types. So you start out in a yellow phase. This is our in-processing phase. It usually takes 1 week. It can take 2 weeks depending on when you ship out to basic training and if there's any holidays in that first week. This is just in-processing, getting you established in the United States Army, getting you issued uniforms, and starting your pay and all that stuff. Red phase is the first part of basic training where you're actually training and getting hands-on with equipment and learning how to be a soldier in the United States Army. As you progress through white phase and blue phase, we're building you up into what the Army wants as a soldier. Our basic training is 10 weeks. The Marine Corps' basic combat training is slightly longer. The Navy and the Air Force is slightly shorter. Simultaneous membership program. This is a great program for high school students to enroll in. It allows them to be in the United States Army Reserve, complete their reserve obligation, doing their 1 week in the month and that 2 weeks in the summer while being simultaneously enrolled in a university that has an ROTC program anywhere in the country. And then when they complete their 4-year degree, they will finish out the remaining time on their reserve contract as an officer in the United States Reserve. So they'll do a few years enlisted while they're in college, and then they can, once they graduate, they'll be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve. The Army has many opportunities in special operations, from our Green Berets and Special Forces to the Army Rangers that stormed Pointe du Hoc in Normandy, France, EOD, guys who handle explosives more than I'm willing to do, and the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment that supports our Special Forces troops with aviation assets, whether it's infill, exfil, or close air support. The Army Band is a very special program. The United States Army is the largest employer of professional musicians in the world. Most of them serve in the United States Army Reserve. There is a United States Army Reserve band local to the state of Wisconsin out of Sheboygan, I believe, that goes around and performs national anthem at sporting events, does parades, and promotes the United States Army to the public. Army Cyber is the newest branch of the United States Army. It's the branch I'm a member of. I'm a 17 Echo electromagnetic warfare specialist. And what that means is I provide communications jamming and force protection measures to keep our troops safe and our enemies from being able to communicate with each other. And then we also have 17 Charlie under this cyber operations specialist. Cyber operations specialists perform a handful of duties, mostly in offensive hacking capabilities to infiltrate our adversary networks and exfil information from those networks. This is the fastest growing field in the United States Army right now. It's got the highest budget and the best promotion potential. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys all for coming. Before you guys go out in the hall and ask your questions to our guest speakers, can we just give them a round of applause? All right, and that's all we have for tonight. They will be out in the hall until 8, so please feel free to go ask them questions. We thank you so much for being here tonight.